Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It is Friday, TGIF, the 25th of April, 2025, and as always, I'm calling out the mainstream media for pushing propaganda and horse hockey. Guess what, folks? If you lose their trust, you know what happens. You won't be trusted anymore. All right, welcome to the Friday edition of the WTF Reports. I'm your host, vonKleist, and as always, the opinions expressed on this broadcast are not necessarily those of the staff, management, or sponsors of this platform. That said, let's see, where do we go from here? So many things going on. A lot of people are really nervous about what's going on with this tariff war that's going on. And there are some things that seriously need to be considered. And that is, of course, we have been shipping our manufacturing overseas for decades. And that's because of the greed of the international corporations. They want to make that money. They don't care about the country that they came from. Just make the money. Got to have the money. Ah, yes, money is God. I don't care what religion you are. You could see the cross. You could see the Star of David. You could see the crescent moon with the star. You could see a Buddha. You could see an Egyptian Ankh, and you could see a dollar sign. And if it's deeds and not words, by their actions, by their fruits, I shall know thee, as the book says. Well, unfortunately, too many people worship the almighty dollar, and to hell with everything else. And that's just the way it is. Well, that's why we're in the pickle that we are. Is because all of these companies shipped all their manufacturing overseas to China, and now 95% of our pharmaceuticals come from China. A lot of our military uniforms come from China. A lot of the hardware comes from China. And that's because we basically let our manufacturing factories just go into decay. They call it the Rust Belt all across the upper Midwest, all these factories that shut down. Billy Joel even did a song called Allentown, and it was all about all these factories that shut down. And now we're in a real pickle because these tariffs are kicking in, and a lot of those shipments are not getting onto the, they're piling up. A lot of empty containers are being shipped around in these big cargo ships. And what's going to happen is, the supply chain is going to be interrupted. And that's inevitable. And the problem here is that we have not been tooling up to cover our butts when this goes in. Now, I'm not 100% on board with what Trump is doing. I do agree that, yes, tariffs are a good thing. But we need to have tooled up before we did that. Because now there's all of that stuff that you buy at Walmart and Target and the dollar store. And so much is made in China. Well, that stuff's going to dry up. So there's going to be a curve that we've got to go through. I'm not quite sure how this is going to work out, but I have a feeling that in the coming weeks and months we're going to start seeing a lot of shortages of a lot of stuff. So I've been watching a lot of the different podcasters out there, and they're all basically saying the same thing: start stocking up on some stuff that you need right now, because it's going to be crazy. It's going to get crazy for a little while. What comes on the other side, if we can pull this off, I think it will be a good thing. But we got to get from point A to point D, which means we got to go through parts B and C. So I don't know how that's going to work. It's sort of like the same situation here. Everybody's been screaming about, the carbon footprint, the climate change and all this stuff. And they're saying we have to get away from fossil fuels and we have to get away from all this stuff. And they want to shut it down. It's the first thing that Biden did when he got into office. He shut down the Keystone Pipeline. Well, that didn't make sense because we don't have any other energy systems in place. Now, if the powers that be would allow it, and I don't think they will, they've been suppressing technology for, a century, but there is 0 point energy. That is real. If you don't think so, I can't help you. Doesn't make any difference what you think. It doesn't make any difference what I think, but it's what they think. And they think that this, 0 point energy, the powers that be, they don't want that out there because that's a direct threat to their profit margin. And that's because they worship the dollar sign. To heck with progress, to heck with peace, to heck with people, to heck with prosperity. They want the money. And so for that reason, all of these alternative energy devices have been suppressed for many, 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 many years, generations indeed. I've gone through this before. You know, Stan Meyer, he was the guy that developed that car. He drove from the East Coast to the West Coast on 22 gallons of water. Well, the powers that be can't have that. No, sir. And back in the 90s, in 96, early 96, I met Stan Meyer. I saw his car. I saw him pour orange soda into the tank, and he ran it with orange soda. I mean, there are technologies out there. I've seen magnet motors. I know that technology is real. And the zero-point energy that Tesla was messing with, yeah, that's real too. But the zero-point energy, that's got to be released. And as a matter of fact, I've got to, remember it was about 2 weeks ago, United States Air Force General Steve Quast was giving a speech, a press conference, and here's what he had to say. Listen carefully.
Energy, the seed corn of all development, all growth, all survival, energy. So energy, transportation, information, and manufacturing, these are the things that change humanity, that will change world power, and they are descending upon us in ways that are very unique. The technology is on the engineering benches today, but most Americans and most in Congress have not had time to really look deeply at what's going on here. But I've had the benefit of 33 years of studying and becoming friends with these engineers and these scientists. This technology can be built today with technology that is not developmental to deliver any human being from any place on planet Earth to any other place in less than an hour. To deliver Wi-Fi from space where you never need a cell tower to connect. To deliver energy from space where you never have to plug your phone in and it trickle charges and you can use that energy over time. It can be applied to cars, to houses. The technology of Edison and Tesla that we live with in our energy environment, our paradigm today, is expensive, it's dangerous, and it's wasteful. Plug it into the wall, but yet that's what we all do because we are used to paradigms. The power of space will change world power forever. And it doesn't have to be a big country to do it. It can be a small island country, let's say New Zealand. Because the technology, if optimized, can change world power, and there's nothing you can do if you don't have that power. The nature of power. You either have it and your values rule, or you do not have it and you must submit. We see that play out again and again in history, and it's playing out now.
Yes, it is. And this is exactly why we should be going full bore, full steam ahead. Damn the torpedoes. Full steam ahead. We should be tooling up for releasing this technology, because if we don't, I don't know if Western civilization or civilization at all, Eastern, Southern, I don't care. If we don't get this technology out there, we are going to destroy the world. And I hate to say it, I don't want to sound fatalistic or anything like that, but I mean, it's common sense. So, and it's not, it's not just, the idea that there is alternative energy out there. The long-term effects are going to be absolutely profound. Matter of fact, I have another clip here. I forget, this was about zero-point energy as well. Here it is.
I want to point out a few other people, because people need to know, who are these people gatekeeping? Hal Puthoff is the #1 world's leading expert on zero-point energy. He's also the government's #1 black project physicist.
Puthoff is a colleague of mine. He was a giant in the intelligence community, had been part of pretty much all the spooky stuff that CIA and our intelligence community has been involved with for decades.
I was talking to AARO, the one that you're probably talking, you know about them, the UFO investigating people. The AARO guy is going like, Hal Puthoff is a legend. I like respect him and all this stuff. I'm going, what? Why are you connected to this guy? And then the other guy is his right-hand man is Eric Davis. Eric W. Davis is the world's leading expert on warp drives and wormholes. They've got multiple papers that were declassified. Like, the government's going to come out when this is all true, and everybody starts getting mad about how they've been hiding warp drives from us. And they're just going to go, we weren't lying to you. We've been telling you. We got all these papers that are out there. You just ignored them. You said they weren't real. Salvatore Pais's patents, 5 Navy patents that explain the balls of plasma. Everybody says, oh, no, they're not real. The Navy was battling the patent office, having their lawyers say that stuff's real. The rest of the world just ignores it. So I think it's really a question of, like, when are we going to wake up and when are we going to be ready? This is Tesla-level technology that has been out there for 100 years. Tesla knew that this zero-point energy was out there. He called it radiant energy because it was before quantum mechanics was even a thing. Tesla invented all the power we use today, 3-phase alternating current. The secret, he told us, energy, frequency, and vibration. The frequency and vibration part is the part that we've forgotten about.
Exactly. And this is why this technology has been suppressed. And it's not just Tesla technology. It's not just the Stan Meyer technology. It's not just the technology that so many other inventors have brought to the table that's been suppressed. It's also the Rife technology. And that, he was just saying, Tesla said everything is energy, is frequency, vibration and frequency. That's why I'm on board with the Wave Watch. I wasn't planning on doing a promo for the Wave Watch, but this is exactly why the Wave Watch has, been making some very interesting ripples in the water. If you're curious about it, go to our website, TheWTFReports, and scroll down or just click on the affiliates or sponsors page. Check out the Wave Watch. That is Tesla technology shrunk down to the size of a wristwatch. And I've had my own experiences with it, and you will too. As a matter of fact, I've been loaning mine out. I've got a friend of mine, and she doesn't want to give it back. I said, you got to give it back. Anyway, yeah, check out the Wave Watch. You'll be glad that you did, because this frequency stuff is for real. And that sort of segues me into some of the information that's available at the website, IngersollLockwood.com. Now, for those of you listening live, you can, go to that website, Ingersoll, Ingersoll, and then Lockwood, LOCKWOOD. Should be 3 L's there. When you go there, you're going to find a website that is basically, it's a recruitment site for the United States Space Force, of all things. Yeah. And there are so many hidden links in there that will blow your mind. They really will. And a lot of it has to do with technology that has been suppressed and topics that have been basically poo-pooed. Okay, so you remember all of the drones last fall? We don't hear about that anymore. We're still hearing about, sightings all over the world. But they were really pushing this thing about drones and possible aliens and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, whoosh, all those stories are gone. They're gone. But you can bring yourself up to speed with a lot of that technology if you go to IngersollLockwood.com. Anyway, let's see. It's about 20 minutes past the hour. I'm going to open up the phone lines. I got a couple other things I want to share with you, but hey, you, dear listener, you come first. So if you want to join the conversation, you have something that you want to bring to the table, give me a call, 215-867-8255. Again, that's 215-867-8255. Okay, changing gears a little bit. There's so much going on right now about the Maryland man. Oh, yes, the Maryland father. Mainstream media is saying he's a Maryland father, Maryland guy. He's Maryland. What? No, wait a second. No, he is an illegal immigrant. Sorry, but that's the fact. He is an MS-13 gang member. Sorry, that's a fact. Yeah, he did beat his wife. Sorry, that's a fact. And this whole point of everybody screaming about how he was mistakenly deported, I don't get it. I don't get it how so many people can be so on board with with protecting a guy, an illegal alien who is an admitted an MS-13 gang member. And there was a girl that posted a very simple question. Listen to this question. This is posted by, let me see, a man of memes. Of course, that's not her. But anyway, this girl asked her, one of those not a stupid question.
Liberals say if confiscating all guns saves just one life, it would be worth it. So if deporting all illegal aliens saves just one life, wouldn't that be worth it?
Interesting concept. Yeah. I mean, if you get rid of all the guns, if that will save one life, it's worth it, right? That's what the liberals say. Well, I guess that doesn't apply to illegal aliens, does it? No, it doesn't. But there's a gentleman. Let me see. Before I do that, I'll tell you what. Let's go to a series of clips here having to do with how the border was. Well, we all know it was wide open. We all know that the numbers were astronomical over the past 4 years, and yet under the Biden-Harris administration, they said the border is secure. Anyway, here you go. Listen.
They were importing voters. We have an answer to that question now. And while they were doing that, they were telling you this.
Well, there certainly is not an open border.
The border is secure, but we also have a broken immigration system.
Okay, I'm going to pause it there. First you hear Jen Psaki, then you hear Kamala Harris, and here is Alejandro Mayorkas.
The border is closed. The border is secure.
I just laid that really clear. It would be wrong to think that the border is open. It is not open.
They were importing Democratic voters, lying to the American public, and now we have the proof. According to the Social Security Administration, the crime started immediately after Joe Biden took office in 2021. 270,000 illegals were given Social Security numbers. That number would grow a year later to 590,000 illegals.
Okay, I'm going to pause it. Now listen, I'm going to back it up just a little bit. Listen to the numbers as far as how many of these illegals received Social Security numbers. Here it is again.
That number would grow a year later to 590,000 illegals getting Social Security numbers. A year later, 2023, 964,000 illegals got Social Security numbers.
Okay, so we went from 200,000 in the first year to 500,000 the second year, and it's up to over 900,000 illegal immigrants on the third year.
And in Joe Biden's final year in office, on his way out the door, that number skyrocketed to just over 2 million illegal aliens getting Social Security numbers in all. More than 3 million illegal aliens that crossed the border when Joe Biden was president now have Social Security numbers today that we know about, and it gets worse. Well, that's true, because do you think they're going to vote for Trump? It was Biden that opened up the border, and it's Biden that was giving them all, debit cards and cell phones and places to stay and food vouchers and all kinds of stuff. You think they're going to vote for a Republican? I don't think so. The bottom line here is that this whole thing has been absolutely orchestrated. As a matter of fact, there is an attorney who had his own take on what's going on with this illegal immigration stuff. Here's what he had to say. And again, this guy is an immigration attorney. Here he is.
Did you know that according to the ACLU and Migration Policy Institute, approximately 75% of deportations under the Obama administration, 2009 to 2017, were non-judicial removals, meaning they bypassed immigration court hearings and judicial oversight. In fiscal year 2012 alone, 313,000 non-judicial removals occurred, compared to only 1,400 in 1995. These removals often involved expedited removal or administrative removal, where Department of Homeland Security agents, such as Border Patrol or ICE officers, made decisions without involving an immigration judge. Where was all the hysteria about due process back then? And if Obama can do it, why not Trump? I'm Joseph Bovino, U.S. immigration and business attorney based in Miami and serving clients worldwide who love my country and respect its immigration laws. Follow for more.
Okay, so there's an immigration attorney pointing out the fact that under the Obama administration, he was deporting illegal aliens without a problem. Of course, the liberal Democrat says, yeah, Obama can do no harm, do no wrong. So he was, deporting illegal immigrants, and there was silence. But now Trump's doing it. Oh, orange man bad, so it can't be good for America. And now we've got all these circuit judges that are trying to basically overstep their authority and stop all this stuff. And of course, filing legal paper, more lawfare, more obstacles. And this is just blatant hypocrisy. It's just unbelievable. Anyway, again, the phone number here, you want to join me? I know it's kind of quiet. I know it's Friday, but hey, if you want to call in, now's the time to do it. 215-867-8255. Again, that's 215-867-8255. Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary. And you can get More Tank if you go to our website. Go on, you could do it. You can do it. TheWTFReports.com. Visit our sponsors page and, get More Tank. It's good for your car, it's good for the environment, and it's good for your pocket. Because your car is going to run better, it's going to run cleaner, and after you've gotten your engine accustomed to this new additive, hey, you're gonna get 15 to 20% better mileage. And you do the math, you figure out, let me see, I guess it's 22, and you get 10% off. That's $20 even. So you're going to spend $20, and at the end of using those little tablets that go in your gas tank, you're going to find that you have 5 tablets. The 5th tank of gas will work out to be free if you're getting, an increase in mileage. This stuff pays for itself in one purchase. You'd be silly not to try it. Go on, you could do it. It's only $20. Go to TheWTFReports.com, visit the sponsors page, and get More Tank. Anyway, that said, okay, I'm all over the map here with different topics here. A lot of people now are taking another look. Since Doge came into the game, Elon Musk. First off, we've been hearing a lot about the USAID. Okay, and how that money has been misappropriated, sent out all over the place to these different non-governmental organizations, these NGOs. The money is flying all over the place to the tune of billions and billions of dollars. And there was a news conference, and State Department spokesman Matt Miller, basically, he had to do some serious dancing when he was asked this question. Listen to this.
How much money went from USAID to the work at Wuhan and to their collaborator, Ralph Barrick, at the University of North Carolina?
Whoa, he's asking how much money went into Wuhan. Whoa.
To collect and make coronaviruses that are weaponized, that are more deadly.
So I, first of all, reject the implicit accusation in that question, and I do not have at my finger. I do not have at my fingertips the particular details of USAID.
Are you saying for certain? Are you saying for certain that no USAID money went to the Wuhan Institute of
Virology? I've answered the question. Go ahead.
No, please tell me. Are you stating that no USAID money went?
I am happy to take questions from those in this audience. I'm happy to answer them. I appreciate that they treat every person in this room, including myself, respectfully. I called on you. I'm now calling on someone else. Go ahead.
Treat me respectfully. Please tell me. What are you denying?
Go ahead.
What is your denial? It's a non-denial denial.
Oh my gosh, he was dancing like crazy. He did not want to address that issue. How much USAID money went to the Wuhan lab for gain of function? Whoa, that's some scary stuff. Oh my gosh. Anyway, let's see here. What else have we got here?
They were importing.
Okay, stop that. Let me see. There was you know what's going on in Israel right now? Oh my gosh. Guess what? There are thousands and thousands of Israelis that have finally, are taken to the streets. Stop this madness, Bibi. Stop it. You know, again, the whole world right now has been watching what's been going on with Israel and the absolute annihilation of an entire population in Palestine. You know, I mean, it's not just genocide, it's extermination. That's what it is. And let's not forget that underneath the ground in the Gaza Strip and just offshore in the Mediterranean, they have found about $480 billion worth of natural gas and oil. Of course, that wouldn't have anything to do with their desire to get in there, would it? Maybe it would have to do with the Ben Gurion Canal that they've been having in the back burner since the year 2000. They've been, you know, salivating. They've been drooling at the idea of taking Palestine. And as a result, now the world is seeing what the Israelis have been doing to the Palestinians for all this time, and now the crosshairs are on Israel. The whole world is condemning Israel. The International Criminal Court has condemned Israel. And by the way, they're also condemning us, the United States, for allowing this to go on and to supply them with the bombs and the planes and the money and everything else so that they can wage war. Now, for those out there that say, oh, you must be a terrorist supporter. You support Hamas. You're an anti-Semite. No. Put that away. Just put that away. We're not, people that are out there protesting against Israel are not anti-Semites. I don't care. Hey, Dan Bongino, you got that all wrong. You know, I don't know. I'm really upset with Dan Bongino. He talks a good talk on a lot of topics, but he is dead wrong on this one. The bottom line here is people who are protesting against Israel's efforts to exterminate an entire culture. That does not make us terrorists. It does not make us anti-Semitic Jew haters. What I hate is the murder of innocent men, women, and children, and lots of children. It's disgusting. Well, guess what? A lot of Israelis are seeing it now, too.
This rally right now in Tel Aviv is just huge. There are 10,000 Israelis, Jews and Palestinians that are holding together the pictures of these children in Gaza that have been bombed and killed by our army. We are here to say no to the killing of children, no to bombing hospitals and houses in Gaza, no to neglecting the hostages there in Gaza. We are here to say a very clear message to this government of death and fascists that are in rule in our country. We will not allow you to fill this land with rivers of blood. We are here to say no. You cannot kill children. You cannot kill children.
Okay, so there you go. There are Israelis that do have a conscience and they do see what's going on, but their voices have been suppressed. And unfortunately, there's an entire culture within the Israeli government that has been basically promoting the genocide of the Palestinians. I've seen videos of schoolrooms in Israel where the rabbis are standing there and they're asking the young kids, I would say 10 or 11 years old, what do you do when you see a Palestinian? And these kids are being told and taught to spit on them, because they're dogs, they're less than human. And this is the mentality that they've been pushing this, you know, and then you see these videos of Israeli female IDF soldiers, and they're dancing and they're smiling and they're mocking any of the Palestinians, and you know, they're celebrating going out and bombing these kids and these women and you know, quote unquote, the Hamas terrorists. I mean, if you've seen the devastation in Palestine, this is way, way over the top. It's absolutely disgusting. But more and more people, like I said, are starting to get hip to this. And there was a conversation that was going on. I'm not quite sure who this was. This is from a podcast. Let me see. It's called The T-E-A. And anyone who's supporting Israel is supporting genocide. And here's what they had to say on this podcast.
UK youth, a striking 54% today believe that Israel shouldn't exist. Only 25% disagree with that. We have seen the most deranged behavior from Israelis. We've seen deranged mothers on TikTok dressing up their children with black eyes and missing teeth, or making fun of parents losing babies. We've seen soldiers urinating on Palestinian captives, children attacked by dogs, sexual assault, rape. Are Israelis aware that public perception today of Israel is of a deeply depraved society?
It matters that for a generation, pretty much, the right has been in control of the education ministry. It matters that much of the Israeli media acts as an inciter to genocide. This is Radio Rwanda of the 1990s in that genocide on steroids. It matters hugely that we have built layer upon layer of dehumanization of Palestinians inside Israeli society. It matters that so many world leaders have adopted the Israeli narrative, that criticism of Israel's criminal actions, genocidal actions, is merely mouthed.
So what do? What do we do? You know, we have so many of our elected officials who are basically in the back pocket of Israel. Now, how did that happen? Well, let me see. There's probably one of 3 different methods that are used to corral our government. Bribery, coercion, blackmail. Yeah, blackmail. That's the big one. And so how is it that so many of our elected officials are involved in this? How is that possible? Well, do you think it might have something to do with the Epstein videos and the P. Diddy videos and the Anthony Weiner laptop and all that stuff? I mean, we have elected officials, corporate leaders, Hollywood stars, sports figures, not all of them, but there's a lot of them that have been involved in this stuff for quite some time. And when you get involved with that and they get you on a video, guess what? You're controlled. That's it. As a matter of fact, you remember when the Anthony Weiner laptop was obtained by the New York City police officers, and Sidney Powell was basically telling what was going on. This is about 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm playing it again because it still matters. And unfortunately, the attention span of most Americans is about that of a potato. So I'm just here to remind you that the Anthony Weiner laptop, the Epstein files, the P. Diddy files, this has to be exposed. It has to. And the clients, it's not so much the perpetrators. Yeah, it is the perpetrators, obviously. But it's also the customers, the people who were frequenting these quote-unquote establishments. Maybe that's why they're covering the whole thing up, because there's so many people. Unbelievable. Here's Sidney Powell. Oh, wait a second. Let me see. Do that and do that and do that. There we go.
They specifically did not look at the BlackBerry backups, and they didn't look at a fraction of the emails on Anthony Weiner's laptop. So one of the things, if I were the president, I'd do is demand the Anthony Weiner laptop and get it to the most trusted person in the military to take apart everything on it and then start using it. There's a lot that can be prosecuted, I have no doubt, on that laptop. In fact, I heard that the New York police officers who saw some of it, even though they're hardened investigators, literally had to go throw up. It's bad.
I'm assured that's it. Cash asked the same questions. Assured there's no more. I found out, this week that a source told me New York, SDNY, they're sitting on thousands of pages of documents regarding Epstein. Thousands. And of course, you've seen the very strong letter. We will get everything. We will have it in our possession. We will redact it, of course, to protect grand jury information and confidential witnesses, but the American people have a right to know. And Donald Trump is the most transparent president in our nation's history. So not only will America get the full Epstein files, they will get JFK, they will get Martin Luther King.
Well, we're still waiting. Remember last month, Pam Bondi says, "Yeah, we've got the file right here. Here's the Epstein file," and she handed out these folders. And, of course, the people who received the folders were just thrilled, and they had a photo op outside of the White House. Look, we got it. They didn't give you doodly squat. What they gave you was stuff that was already out there. So, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, what the heck? WTF? Where are those files? Now, I think we all know that those files are, being deep-sixed, shall we say. And they're hoping that the American people have the attention span of a potato. And unfortunately, if it's deeds and not words, the American people, they just, okay, never mind. After about a week or two, they just move on to something else. We look, how does that apply? Think about, for instance, the fires in Maui. Remember the horrendous fires and the discussion about possible direct energy weapons? Yeah, the blue umbrellas that didn't burn, the blue roofs that prevented the house from being down. How about the blue car that didn't melt? Well, okay, yeah, that was a big topic of discussion. But then something else happens, and the American people go, squirrel, and they look over there, and they forget all about this. Okay, and then there's, of course, the hurricane, Hurricane Helena, destroyed, western South Carolina, or North Carolina, rather. And of course, FEMA did doodly squat to help those people, and they're still struggling. We should all be banding together. And how come that the FEMA money didn't go to help them? Oh, but they spent money to house, illegal immigrants in New York City. In that big hotel, they just gave them all rooms there. And everybody got, pissed off for a little while. But then again, something else comes up. Squirrel! Oh, you're directed someplace else. That's the way it is. I don't know what we're going to do to get the American people to get off of their butts and get involved. Make your phone calls. Do a broadcast. Share the information. Talk to people. It's okay if you want to talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs or the basketball playoffs. That's accepted conversation. But you start talking about important stuff. Good luck with that. But anyway, I'm on a little bit of a tear here. It is Friday. And again, I invite you to call me. The phone lines are quiet. Let's give it up. Give it up. If you're listening, I want to hear from you. 215-867-8255. Again, that's 215-867-8255. Going to take a little musical break, and I'll be right back.
Working hard to get my pay, quitting time another day. The big game's on and then the fight. Let's see what's on the news tonight. A big election, what's my choice? Doesn't matter, I'm just one voice. So much corruption, nothing's fair. They won't change, why should I care? I'm just hanging on, look out for number one. And on the weekend maybe I can have some fun, yeah. Are things freer in America today than they were a couple years ago?
Broadcast stations we control, induced complacency the goal, and people think that they are free. Distractions broadcast on TV, our influence in Washington make people do what we want done. Eventually when we are through, they'll do just what we tell them to.
All right, I just thought I'd throw that in there. It's sort of like a segue from one topic to another. And while that was playing, we got a caller coming in. Welcome to the broadcast. Who do we have on the line, and where are you calling from?
Yeah, it's Ray, and I'm calling from Columbus, Ohio.
Hi, Ray.
And I hate to call because I say there's a very important thing you haven't talked about yet.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering whether you know it about. All of us are wondering, as you do. First of all, I woke up 30 years ago, like you did, and I've been frustrated ever since. But anyhow,
yeah, welcome to the club. Yeah,
right. Say the question is Donald Trump. What's wrong with Donald Trump? You mentioned all the things in his staff that aren't following through on anything. So the feeling that I had for a while was that Epstein files have something on him, but I don't think so. I listened to Max, M-A-X, Blumenthal. He's a Jewish reporter.
Oh, yeah.
Very solid. Oh, okay, you know him.
Oh, yeah.
All right, what he said in one of his podcasts, you can find it, that in about 2007 to 9, when Donald Trump's daughter was converting to Judaism, Orthodox, why a group called Chabad, that's what he called them. He called them an extreme Orthodox Jewish group, helped her get purified in order to marry the Jared Kushner,
right,
who's an Orthodox Jew.
Mm-hmm.
And then he showed a picture of Donald Trump with a skull hat on and participating in their work. So the feeling, and now they're married and 3 children.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what is locking him in is he has his best daughter and 3 children and a family, Orthodox Jew, connected to what Max calls an extreme Orthodox group. In fact, he calls them a cult.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's locking him up. And he actually said that power and control over Trump is expressed to most of his inner staff there.
Mm-hmm.
And that the firing, for example, which I think you brought up, that one guy from Headset, is an example of getting rid of people that are not automatically locked in to Netanyahu. And something else that people may not know is that Jared Kushner's father and uncle
Mm-hmm.
have been personal friends of Netanyahu for about 3 decades. So the lock in to his daughter and to Netanyahu and the Orthodox cult is what is controlling him. And that may destroy his whole administration. So I just thought you ought to look into that.
Well, I would tend to agree with you on that, but there are different kinds of Jews that are out there. There are a lot of Orthodox Jews that are vehemently against Bibi Netanyahu and his genocidal tendencies to exterminate the people in Palestine. So there are a lot of Jews out there that are very much, they're out there protesting in New York and all over the world saying this is not right. This does not represent our faith. After all, Jews and Christians share the Old Testament. We both have the same God. And again, go ahead.
Let me point out one more thing, is that the Orthodox Jews have been voting for him ever since that time,
mm-hmm.
not the others. And I don't know if you saw it. It was a videotape. I saw it myself, in which Donald Trump was given a silver crown, and they crowned him as King of Jerusalem.
Right, I heard about that.
With a guy with an ego that he's got.
Yeah.
With an ego he's got. He's really locked in. King of Jerusalem, his daughter and grandchildren are all locked into Orthodox. And the Orthodox have been voting for him. They're about 20%.
Mm-hmm.
The other Jews, even this last time, it was about high 60s to 71% that voted for Kamala. And
mm-hmm.
they voted for Kamala because the administration that Biden had, go look at the leadership, is a Jewish administration.
Mm-hmm.
That was what's running his administration, not Biden. Biden couldn't even handle the beginning of the when he was with all of them running for president at the beginning. He couldn't answer his question. He was out of it from the beginning, not later on.
Well,
that's all I wanted to point out.
Well, he was lucky to be able to navigate an ice cream cone.
Right.
But I believe
absolutely.
But I believe that there's a lot of confusion. There's something going on right now. We've all heard about the Great Awakening. We've heard about the shift. But there's a new term. It's called the noticing. And I think a lot of people now are starting to refer back to the scriptures, and I'm not here to proselytize, but people want to figure out exactly who is who in this entire conflict. Now, of course, in the book of Revelation in 2:9 and 3:9, it says there are those who call themselves Jews, but they are not. There are imposters. Yes. So the point is, who are the real Israelites, who are the real Jews, and who are the imposters? And that opens up a can of worms when people start, looking at the Ashkenazis and the Khazarians, and whether or not there are, imposters who basically call themselves Jews, but they are not. And again, I mentioned this earlier in this broadcast. Some people worship the dollar sign. They don't worship the Star of David. Okay.
Now, you're absolutely right on everything you're saying. Everything I know fits perfectly with what you're saying. They aren't Orthodox Jews. They are not the original Israelites. They're an imposter. I agree with that. But Max makes this point. He met with these Chabad people, and he says they are really an extreme cult. They have a lot of power, and that they can command Trump, and that's what he's worried about.
Well, there is an effort out there, and I've seen many rabbis, and I could play clips. I don't have time to do it now, but there are many rabbis out there. Of course, they say that if you're not Jewish, if you're not on board with 100% with their belief system, you are Goyim, you are Gentiles, you are Amalek. And the bottom line here is that this particular sect believes that the Christians and the Muslims all have to die. And the ones that survive have to serve the Jews. Now this is, and this is way over the top. You want to talk about, God's chosen people? How is that different from the master race? I mean, it's the same thing. It's just on the different side of the spectrum.
Well, you're absolutely right, and you played those clips. It's very clear.
Yeah,
it's what you say all the time. Are people willing to believe the facts and the obvious statement? And I agree with you. I've been in academia for 50 years, and I've had all kinds of Jews, and some of them are really honest, and they are bold enough and courageous enough, as some of the tapes you played, to say the truth straight out. Yes, we don't want to group them together. We want to find the ones that are not honest. Okay. Well,
yeah. I mean, it's funny because if you look through history, I mean, go back 20 or 30 years. We talk about the 9/11 attacks. Okay, that was Muslim extremists. And then we hear about the Oklahoma City bombing and Timothy McVeigh and how he was a Christian patriot. Christian extremists. We hear about Christian extremists. We hear about Muslim extremists, but you never hear about Jewish extremists. And there are Jewish extremists out there. There are all these different sects, of Judaism, and some of them are not good people. They are absolutely not. I mean, if the proof is in the pudding, just look at what they've done to the Palestinians.
Well, what happened to the Palestinians, I think, as I review the history and everything you mentioned, I'm familiar with. They have, through all of history, gone too far and never know when to quit, and they're doing that again. So there's going to be a huge reaction, because now they're out there by themselves in their own country, showing us who they are, what they are, and what they do.
Right.
So now there's no mixing it up that there's some Gentiles and they're doing this or that. They're doing it, they're it, and now we see them for what they are. But again, those are the Ashkenazi, and there's about 2 million that are actually from Russia, not only Eastern Europe and the United States.
Yeah.
And actually, Biden would like him come back, because they took their money with him.
Yeah, right.
I mean, not Biden. I'm not to say Putin. I'm not to say want him back to Russia because of the money they took with them.
Well, speaking of Putin, okay, now the mainstream media has been painting Putin as an absolute butcher. He's bombing this. He's killing all these people and all that. Whoa, wait a second. Has he bombed Kiev? I haven't seen destruction in Kiev. As a matter of fact, we've got our elected officials and Hollywood stars and rock and roll stars that go over there for photo ops. I mean, if Putin was a butcher and he was going to level Ukraine, you would think that he would go after Kiev, but he hasn't touched Kiev. Not that I'm aware of. I mean, outskirts, yeah, okay, fine, but he hasn't gone out there and leveled the city. But he's being labeled as a butcher, et cetera, et cetera. Now let's switch gears, look at Bibi Netanyahu, and you look at the absolute devastation of Palestine. Don't tell me that you're going after Hamas that are hiding in caves. They've destroyed the schools. They've destroyed the infrastructure. They've destroyed the hospitals, the water treatment plants. They have cut off supplies. They're doing everything they can to exterminate everyone who's in that Gaza Strip. And yet Bibi Netanyahu comes to the United States and addresses Congress, and they standing ovation. And then here's some more money. Here's some more bombs. Here's some more planes. Keep going. No wonder the rest of the world is so pissed off at us and Israel. So I mean, let's call a spade a spade. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And as far as the media is concerned, I'm well documented on the record for decades, and I have nothing but contempt for the mainstream media.
Yeah, Doug McGregor, Jeffrey Sachs, Max Blumenthal, Larry Johnson. There's a whole dozen or more of them that are telling the real story of what's going on.
Yeah.
And nobody will interview them on the mass media.
No.
And it's true that Putin will go down in history as the only adult in the room at this time in history.
You're right.
He's the only sensible guy. He's the one that held Iran back from overreacting, which they might have done. So Putin is the one that's keeping the peace, not Donald Trump.
That's
I'm
right.
afraid he is locked out. So thanks very much. I hate to interrupt you because I like to hear everything you had to say, and your clips are fantastic.
Well,
you are exactly what we need now. The time is right, and you're the right person for it.
Oh, well, thank you
very much.
Thank you.
On air and everything you do.
Well, thank you so much for the kudos. I appreciate it, and I'm glad to have you as a listener. I hope to hear from you again. All
okay,
right.
Great.
You have a safe weekend.
Bye.
God bless. Bye-bye. Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah, I guess I'm not blowing smoke too much. But yeah, seriously, folks, I mean, if it's deeds and not words, we have to look at what Putin's doing versus what Bibi Netanyahu's doing. And for the life of me, I can understand. I was going to say I can't understand, but I do understand, because our elected officials are bribed, they're blackmailed, and they have coercion. I mean, they've been being coerced, shall I say. Now, those three words, bribery, well, you can also call that lobbying. Look at Track AIPAC. Track AIPAC. That's a website that you can go to, and you can see how much money that the Israelis are throwing at our elected officials, and it's got nothing to do with, conservatives versus liberals. No, it's across the board. And you look at how much money's being thrown at them through bribery. Then you look at the issue about coercion. I mean, don't fool yourself. There are situations where somebody is approached and say, look, you're going to vote this way or something bad could happen to your family. Yeah, that's called coercion, and that does happen. And then, of course, there's the third, and this is the most powerful force, is blackmail. And that's why we haven't seen the Epstein files. This is why they've held back on the P. Diddy files, all those videos. And this is, this is why we don't hear about this stuff, is because so many of these very, very prominent officials are involved in some very horrendous stuff involving children. And I'm sorry, sometime, somehow, this has got to come out. We have to purge this, this cancer of humanity. We have to purge them from society. And unfortunately, if there are that many elected and appointed officials that are involved in this type of stuff, if they all get nabbed, that's going to be a huge void in our system of government here. I don't know a way out of it, but we got to figure this out, because we cannot sustain this. Oh, boy. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this week's excursion in broadcasting. I'm so glad that you're out there listening, and I ask that you support the broadcast by going to TheWTFReports.com. Buy some merch, get a coffee cup, get a T-shirt, get a hat. Help us pay the bills. All right, God bless you all. You have a very safe weekend. Be safe, and above all, be free. God bless you all.
Anymore.